In a world where power draws blood, some men don't just rule, they survive. He was born in the dust of Ijero-Ekiti, a teacher with nothing but conviction and a stubborn heart. Yet somehow, he rose. From the classroom to the corridors of power, from chalk to the golden chair of the presidency. They called him Caleb Adewale. To his people, he was a lion of the republic. To his enemies, he was a problem that bullets couldn't solve. From the moment he took office, death followed him like a shadow that refused to leave. Assassins, coups, bombs, betrayals. 9 times, the hand of fate reached for his life. 9 times, it came back empty. The first came before dawn. Soldiers at his gate, guns ready, betrayal in uniform. He should have died that morning, but destiny had other plans. Then came the explosion in the sky, a plane falling like a star over the African wilderness. He crawled out of the wreckage, broken but breathing. Poison found his glass. Bombs found his stage. Snipers found his car. And yet somehow, the man kept walking through fire like it was air. Was it luck? Was it divine protection? Or was there something darker, something hidden, behind the president who refused to die? For 9 years, death stalked him in shadows and sunlight. And with each escape, the question grew louder. Who wanted him gone? And why couldn't they finish the job? This is not fiction. This is not legend. This is the real-life story of a man who cheated fate. Over and over and over again, every time the world wrote his obituary. He stood up again. This is a true crime story of a president who lived as if death was only a rumor. Caleb Adewale, the man fate refused to bury. The first bullet missed his heart by 2 inches. That was the day the world realized President Caleb Adewale was not an ordinary man. Born in the small town of Ijero-Ekiti, Nigeria, Adewale had risen from the mud streets to the marble halls of power, a schoolteacher turned revolutionary, a revolutionary turned president. To his people, he was hope in human form. To his enemies, he was a target that refused to die. And by the time history would finish writing his story, the man would have escaped death 9 times. It began with the thunder of boots in the hallway. At exactly 4:17 a.m., President Adewale woke to the sound of automatic rifles. His chief of staff burst into the room, pale-faced, whispering the word that every African president feared. Coup! The rebels were already inside Rock. The power had been cut, and the guards at the western gate had been compromised. The vice president, his old ally, had betrayed him, promising the generals a bloodless taking. But there was nothing bloodless about what followed. As the coup plotters stormed the residence, Adewale made a split-second decision that saved his life. He pulled on a soldier's uniform, one of the bodyguards, and slipped through a service corridor with his aide, Bambi. Gunfire echoed through the marble halls. One bullet shattered a portrait of his late wife. Another grazed his shoulder as he crawled behind a line of armored vehicles. He and Bamidil hid for 4 hours beneath a drainage tunnel behind the villa, drenched in sewage, listening to the sound of their own army tearing the presidency apart. When loyalist forces arrived by noon, the coup was crushed. Adewale's message to the nation that evening was delivered with blood still seeping through his sleeve. If death is looking for me, it will have to try harder. It did. 3 months later after the coup, Adewale boarded the presidential jet en route to an African Union summit in Addis Ababa. The skies were clear. The pilots were veterans. Nothing could go wrong. Until it did. At 32,000 feet, an explosion tore through the left engine. Flames licked the wing, and the jet shuddered violently. The oxygen masks dropped. The cabin filled with smoke. Adewale gripped the armrest as the aircraft tilted into a nosedive. The co-pilot's voice came through the intercom, calm, almost eerie. "We've lost control, Mr. President." Witnesses on the ground saw a streak of fire descending through the clouds. The jet slammed into the side of a mountain, or so everyone believed. In truth, the pilot had managed a desperate emergency landing in a patch of forest 30 miles from the Ethiopian border. The plane broke in two. The wings tore off, but somehow the cockpit, where Adewale sat, held firm. He crawled out of wreckage with 2 broken ribs, soaked in aviation fuel, and stumbled into the forest. For 48 hours, he and the surviving crew wandered through the wilderness, guided only by the stars and the buzzing of rescue helicopters they could never quite reach. When they were finally found, Adewale was standing barefoot, bruised, and half-burned on a hilltop, saluting the flag on the rescue chopper. It became front-page news worldwide. The president who wouldn't die. But not everyone was happy he'd survived. Every survivor eventually learns. Danger isn't always loud. Sometimes it's poured into a glass. It was at a private dinner with foreign investors that the third attempt came. The lights were low, the music soft, and laughter echoed across the marble banquet hall. Adewale was in good spirits. The country's economy was turning around, oil revenues were up, and he had just signed $1 billion deal. He lifted his glass to make a toast, to peace and prosperity. But a security aide, Captain Hassan, interrupted him. He whispered something in the president's ear. Adewale's hand froze midair. He watched silently as Hassan picked up the glass and poured the wine onto a white napkin. Within seconds, the napkin turned black. Cyanide. Someone at the table had tried to poison him. The dinner erupted into chaos. Plates shattered. Guards rushed in, and every guest was ordered to stay seated. The culprit turned out to be one of the waiters, a man whose wife had been killed during a military raid years earlier. When interrogated, the man confessed that he'd been paid $50,000 and promised that the world would thank him. Adewale said nothing for hours. He simply stared at the man through the glass wall of the interrogation room. Finally, he whispered to his guards, "Don't kill him. Let him live. Let him see that I will not die." That night, Adewale couldn't sleep. For the first time, he realized something terrifying. Death wasn't coming randomly anymore. Someone was orchestrating it. The 4th time was the closest yet. Independence Day, Abuja. The streets overflowed with color and noise. The president was to address the nation at Eagle Square. Thousands had gathered. School children waving flags, military bands playing. Security had cleared the area hours before. Nothing seemed out of place. But just as Adewale's convoy approached the stage, a blast tore through the crowd. The shockwave flung the presidential SUV sideways. The windows exploded inward. Screams filled the air. Another explosion followed. This one closer, shaking the ground like an earthquake. Adewale's ears rang. He saw flames where people had stood seconds earlier. His driver was dead, his guards bleeding. He should have died too, except for one miracle. The security chief had insisted at the last minute that they use an alternate route to approach the stage. That route delayed them by 45 seconds. 45 seconds that saved his life. The bomber, caught later on camera, had detonated too early. Adewale limped to the stage, refusing evacuation, and raised a soot-covered hand to the panicked crowd. "We will not run from cowards. Nigeria will not bow to terror." The image went viral. The president standing against a backdrop of smoke and fire, his white shirt soaked in blood. But somewhere in the shadows of that same square, a figure watched with binoculars. The same figure who had planted the bomb. He whispered into a phone, "He's still alive." The reply came cold and calm. "Then we try again." It happened on a night when thunder drowned the city. Adewale was returning from a late security meeting. His convoy rolled to the quiet streets of Abuja. The rain was relentless, turning the road into mirrors of light. From a rooftop 3 blocks away, a sniper took aim. He was former military, a ghost in the Northern Insurgency Wars, recruited and paid in cash. At 11:42 p.m., the first shot rang out. It punched through the windshield of the lead vehicle. The second hit the rear tire of the president's car. Chaos erupted. Sirens wailed. Guards shouted. The convoy split in 3 directions, each one carrying decoy lights to confuse the attacker. But Adewale was still inside the target vehicle. As another bullet smashed through the window, his driver, Sergeant Okoro, made a decision that no one else could have made. He swerved off the main road, straight into a flooded underpass, killing the engine and plunging them into darkness. For 5 minutes, they sat there in silence as the water rose around them. Above, the sniper fired again and again, thinking he'd killed his mark. When the police arrived hours later, they found the car half submerged, and the president alive, soaked, coughing, but smiling. "You see, Okoro," he said between breaths, "not even the rain can wash me away." The sniper vanished that night, leaving behind a single bullet casing engraved with a symbol, a serpent eating its own tail. 5 escapes, 5 near deaths, and yet the sense of safety was gone. President Adewale no longer trusted his own reflection. His nights were filled with visions, bullets, flames, falling metal. Every morning he woke drenched in sweat, haunted by the same question, "Why me?" Then came a letter, delivered by hand. No signature, no seal. Just a single sheet of paper with one sentence typed neatly in red ink. "You were never meant to live past 40. And below it, 9 small marks, like tally scratches. 5 already crossed out. He stared at it for a long time. Then he placed a letter in his desk drawer, locked it, and whispered to himself, "Then let's see what happens to the last 4. The 6th attempt came from above the clouds. The kind of death that doesn't whisper, it roars. The year was 2012. President Adewale was flying over the oil-rich Niger Delta to inspect pipeline facilities. It was supposed to be a routine trip. 30 minutes in the air, a photo op, a handshake with local leaders, and back to Abuja before sunset. But just as a helicopter crossed the mangrove swamps, a blinding flash split the sky. "Engine failure," the pilot screamed. The chopper spun violently. Alarms blared. The rotor blades sheared off against treetops. In the chaos, Adewale caught a glimpse of ground rushing up to meet them, a blur of green and mud. Impact. Metal twisted like paper. The cabin filled with smoke. Someone was crying for help. Maybe the co-pilot, maybe the aide beside him. Adewale could barely move, his seatbelt locking him in place. Fire licked the sides of the fuselage. But fate wasn't finished with him yet. Rain began to fall, heavy, torrential, the kind that drowns flames. The storm that should have killed him saved him instead. The helicopter burned itself out while the survivors crawled from the wreckage, coughing and gasping. Adewale emerged last, his face smeared with soot, clutching the national flag that had been inside the cabin. When the rescue team arrived, they found him standing in the swamp, drenched and trembling, staring at the broken machine that should have been his coffin. He said only one thing to the rescue chief. "The sky failed them, not me." But deep inside, he knew someone had tampered with that chopper. The flight records vanished the next day. The pilot's family disappeared 2 weeks later. Death was still hunting. By 2014, paranoia had become a permanent shadow in Ossa Rock. Adewale trusted almost no one, but betrayal always wears a familiar face. His chief of security, Colonel Hassan, the same man who had saved him from poison years earlier, had changed. He'd grown quieter, more distant, often seen making late-night calls in the restricted wing. Adewale noticed. He said nothing. He waited. Then one night, while the president slept, the palace lights went out. Total blackout. The CCTV feed cut off. The security radios went silent. And from the corridor outside came the faint sound of boots, slow, deliberate, approaching his door. Adewale reached for the side drawer where he kept his father's old revolver. He crouched behind the curtain as the door opened. 4 men stepped inside, all in military uniform, faces masked. One whispered, "End it fast." Adewale's heart hammered. He waited until the lead man reached the bed, then fired. 1 shot, straight through the curtain. The intruder dropped. Gunfire exploded. The room turned into a storm of bullets and broken glass. Adewale rolled across the floor, diving behind the heavy oak desk. He managed to hit the panic button under the table. A silent alarm connected to the outer gate. Within minutes, loyal guards flooded the corridor, engaging the assassins in a brutal firefight. When it was over, 4 men lay dead. One of them was Colonel Hassan. Adewale stood over the body of the man who'd once saved his life. In his jacket pocket, they found a phone, and on the screen, a single message: make sure he doesn't live to see morning. The number was traced to a satellite line in Geneva, registered to a shell company. Whoever was behind all this wasn't done yet. The 8th death came disguised as routine. It was the Independence Day anniversary again, 2 years after the bombing at Eagle Square. The scars of that day still haunted the city, but Adewale refused to hide. If they want to kill me, he told his driver, let them do it in daylight. At 10:30 a.m., his convoy of 6 black SUVs rolled through the Capitol. Crowds cheered, waving flags and banners. The president waved back, his face calm but his eyes scanning everything. The convoy slowed near a roundabout where a street cleaner pushed a cart full of trash bags. Ordinary, harmless, until one of the guards noticed something. A glint beneath the cart. Stop the car. Too late. The explosion ripped through the street, shattering windows and flipping vehicles. 2 cars ahead of the president's SUV were obliterated. Fire swallowed the road. Inside his vehicle, the shockwave blew out the windshield. Adewale was thrown sideways, glass slicing his arm. The driver, bleeding, tried to steer, but the car's tires were gone. They crashed into a fruit stand. Smoke and screams filled the air. But somehow, amid the chaos, Adewale pushed open the door, staggering out of the wreckage. His security detail rushed him into another vehicle and sped away just before a second bomb detonated beneath the wreck of his car. Had he remained inside 10 seconds longer, he would have been vaporized. Later investigations revealed the cleaner had been paid $5,000 by an unknown contact in Cairo to place the cart there at that exact time. When the press asked how he felt to have survived in another attack, Adewale replied with a faint smile, maybe I've already died 8 times, and this is what heaven looks like. But his eyes told a different story. The look of a man who knew the 9th time was coming. It happened on a night no one could forget. December 29th, 2015, the end of his 2nd term. The president was to deliver his farewell address the next morning and hand over power peacefully, a rare thing in African politics. The world praised his courage. The media hailed him as the president who cheated death. But in the quiet corners of his palace, death was already waiting. Adewale had dismissed most of his staff for the night. Only a handful of loyal guards remained. The rain fell heavy again, the same kind of rain that had once saved him. At exactly 11:59 p.m., a lone figure entered the presidential garden. No security stopped him. The cameras had been cut. He moved with purpose, as if he knew the place. He wore black gloves and raincoat, with a face too calm for what he carried, a silenced pistol. The assassin reached the veranda, where Adewale sat alone with a cup of tea, watching the lightning crawl across the horizon. You came late, the president said without turning. The assassin froze. You knew I was coming? Adewale nodded slowly. You've been trying for 9 years. I knew you'd want to finish the story yourself. The assassin stepped closer. Then why not run? Adewale smiled. Because every man must face his 9th death. He turned to look at him, calm, unflinching. Rain dripped from his hair. In his eyes was not fear, but relief. The assassin hesitated. Something about the old man's gaze, steady, almost pitying, made his hand tremble. He lowered the gun for just a moment. That was his mistake. A single shot cracked through the storm. The assassin fell. Behind him stood the president's driver, Sergeant Okoro, holding a service pistol. Adewale exhaled. 9 lives, he whispered, but I think this one's the last. When dawn came, President Olusegun Adewale addressed the nation one final time. His voice was calm, his tone steady, but his words carried the weight of every death he had outrun. Power is temporary. Fear is temporary. But courage is forever. 2 days later, he vanished. No one knew where he went. Some say he retired to the hills of Jos under a false name. Others claim the plane that was supposed to take him abroad never arrived, that he disappeared the same way he'd lived, mysteriously, defiantly, almost supernaturally. And every few years, when chaos returns to the country, whispers rise again. He's still alive. No one knows for sure. But one thing is certain. No man in history has looked death in the eye 9 times and smiled back quite like him. If you're still watching, hit like, comment, and subscribe. Because next time, we'll bring you another unbelievable tale of survival, where fate, fear, and faith collide. From smoke-filled corridors of power to blood-stained runways and midnight gunfire, each escape is a battle between destiny and doom.